Thank you, everyone. First, I want to thank our UAW leadership that's with us tonight. And as I look around, I see our area director, Neil Felton. It's great to have him here tonight. President Mike Allen. I have the honor and privilege to serve in Mike Allen's administration on the E-Board. And if anybody knows me, they know I'm more like the Ralph Nader type. You know, my idea of a good time on a Saturday night is reading the Supreme Court opinion. But I have my Ralph Nader tendencies once in a while around them when I don't understand something. I get a little nervous. But as everybody knows in this room, it's an honor and privilege to be a union member in this country, considering what has happened to the middle class in this country. What I've been known for is a strong work ethic. As Mike Allen knows, a lot of the managers didn't like me in the plant. But they really couldn't do nothing to me because I had a 15-year string without missing a day. That's on a 7-day schedule. There's not much they can touch me with in the plant. A few times Mike had to bail me out, as he knows. But mostly I worked hard because I wanted the UAW member, the guys in management, you came to work and you went to work. And you worked all day, 8 hours, paid for 8 hours of work. And that's what I wanted to know. But I'm glad to have our local 624 retired workers chapter. And we're volunteers, but we're keeping the UAW strong here in the area of Syracuse. And I want our legislators to know we still have a lot of votes. We still have a lot of votes. We've got 2,500 members on paper, not all of them are here. We got a big voting block left here. And brings me to, I grew up on the west side, and I had an Uncle Jim who's a Korean War veteran. And he used to watch Red Scalp. And he was always wearing a cap on his head. We used to play war. The only card games I ever learned was war and fish. But we didn't even play war right. You know, you're supposed to even up the red and the black. So each side had to play 2 players that had equal strength. But we didn't even play that right. We mixed like 3 decks together and played cards. So I'm about 8 years old. My uncle used to love to watch Red Scalp. And he had it go on his head. And boy, that Red Scalp, what a card. What a card. And I looked at my cards and said, which one's he talking about? This brings me to Dave Scalisi. Scalisi, he says, come on, Ralph, don't tell any more UAW stories, war stories, because nobody's going to know what you're talking about here. But I want to emphasize that most of our years of the plant were good years. Mike Allen's administration, Neil Felton, mostly good years, and we get the bad, not so good years. So, is Jack Cook in the house? He's playing the piano? Well, he's right in front of us, Jack Cook. See, Jack Cook, the high-ranking official, Jack Cook, and the Teamsters was a guy called Tony Crow. But I want Jack Cook to know we had a high-ranking official called Tony D. So Tony D, he was our plant shop chairman, he was a committeeman, but he's the new members running for office, he go around and try to lead them. So Dave's first time out, he's running for trustee. And Tony D comes around and says, hey, Scalisi, I heard you're not, they got a report on you that you're not using the union book on your literature. And Dave was new to Tony D. He goes, oh, here's my literature right here. And everybody knows by his speech, Dave Scalisi is a comprehensive guy. And he was elected trustee, so the second time Tony D comes around, hey, Scalisi, got a report on you, you're driving a foreign car. He goes, I'll take it right out in the parking lot. I buy UAW Chrysler products. But see, Dave, he moved up from trustee and he became our recording secretary. And he was a very comprehensive guy. He was like what you call a equal opportunity recording secretary. Even if you walk by in the room, he'd take his nose, had beads of sweat coming down his forehead, but he was a very equal opportunity recording secretary. If you just burped or something, he recorded the book. But he didn't believe in 8.5 by 11 paper. It's all legal. All his campaign literature is all legal size paper. And so, since I'm into history, and during the summertime I volunteer at the Historical Association. I brought our archives down there, and the archivist said, what are you bring all the stuff, and I go, that's just Scalisi stuff. He goes, we're going to have to open up a new wing in the store, maybe a Carnegie Library, we're going to have to put some of this stuff in there. So he was very comprehensive, but, so Dave, he's a great guy. And so, okay, this brings me to Dr. Nami. And, one night we're out, and me and Chris is very active too. She's very active, UAW member, really helping out. Very active. So one night we go out, and it was a Sunday night, we went to one of our favorite places, besides Pennsylvania. But we went there, you know, and it was a Sunday night. But why is it so busy? You know, she dawned on me, Dr. King, and a lot of people had money off Dr. King. So the server comes over, and she goes, thank you for your patience. Because we're waiting for a long time. I'm going to borrow this from the Dave Ashworth collections. I already told him I'm going to borrow this from your collections. Okay, Dave? Oh, thank you. But, so she comes up, thank you for your patience. And I said, I used my famous line from Dave Ashworth. I said, that's why I could never be a doctor, because I never had the patience. So she looks down at me on the table, she goes, I'm studying to be a doctor. Right in my face, like this. And then he turned into Ralph Tramp. I go, boy, that one boomerang got me, you know, so I got to be careful with my one-liners. So I'm going to give that back to you, Dave, for a while. So, well, we have a lot of UAW leadership today, and I could ask this question, and everybody's going to have the answer. What's the hardest job in the world? And most of you say motherhood. It's the hardest job in the world, motherhood. But a close second in this day and age is being a labor leader. Because the members always depend so much on the leaders to do all the work. Just about all the work. All the voting for them, all the walking the picket lines for them. So, we have, every year the UAW has a Cape May conference in New Jersey. And all the leaders get together. And so Tom Furcano was our late regional director. He goes way back to the Taft-Hartley days. And there was Fred Hartley was the author of that Taft-Hartley Act, and by the way, the right to work law has got to be one of the most trusted laws of our time. But Tom Furcano was talking about like social media, we got to keep in touch with social media and all that, you know. And I'm a 50s, 60s guy, and I'm into the blues a little bit. So Tom Furcano says, you know, we got to keep up the times in social media with our members to communicate. And he mentioned the group Common. I never heard of Common. I think it's a rapper or something. And all of a sudden I heard that, no! And I go, wow, where's that coming from? They're going to throw this guy out of here. And I look over, it's Barbie. Mark Barbie saying it. So if everybody's getting to know Mark Barbie from the Labor Federation, he's on the Labor Federation now. And the first thing, when you meet Mark Barbie, he's a very charismatic guy. Very charismatic. So, one of his greatest singers, his favorite singer is Tom Jones. It's not unusual. He loves him. He even took me in his office one time. He's got a full-length mirror in his office, and he practiced. It's not unusual. And I give him credit, though, because he keeps our charter in his office. Like, we've got to give him credit, 624 charter. But he's really into Tom Jones. Even at the convention, he's singing Tom Jones. And so, anyways, when he gets around with his international rep, he's very busy, but he wants to cut a record. His line was coming back now, as you know. But he doesn't want to do the album. He wants to cut a 45. Remember the 45 is a small record with a big hole in it? And he wants to do his version of It's Not Unusual, but he wants to do it back with James Brown, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. He wants to do Barbie's Got a Brand New Bag. On the flip side, we've been talking about it, we don't know which one's going to be the A side or the B side, but that's the B side. Barbie's Got a Brand New Bag. So, one thing I'll say to you, Mark, don't let your bag ever go empty, please. So, well, I want to bring up to one thing I did very important in the summer was the labor walks. Now, we're going in the fall, but I haven't been very active in my job, and I was glad to do it with Mark Spatterford and our field coordinator, Wendy. And a lot of the work you don't see is what they do on the weekends. They take the time away from their families, and Wendy's great. And Mark Spatafor has been an activist for years, but that's something you don't see with the hard work they do on the weekends with the labor walks. So you can picture us, a big guy like me, Scalise, and Mark Spatafor, Wendy, we got our shirts on, you know, for the labor walks, and we're walking down the streets like we got bowling balls underneath our arms. We thought we were something, but anyways, the serious part about that, I felt good about doing it, because you feel good about doing it and put something back to get the vote out for people. It's a great day tonight. And once again, Chris was there. So it was actually 4 of us, and she helped out a lot with it, with our red shirts on every weekend. And it was a very good experience. And I know Scalise and me talked about it out there before we came in here about how to get new members involved, you know. And I had a few things to say about that. But before we get there, I want to tell you a story about, I was told this story about 25 years ago by an IU East steward from General Electric. And actually, they published this story, but this one's been going around for decades. It's a story about Gus and Ethel Goldberg. Now, Gus, if anybody's ever worked in General Electric, we talk a lot about the right to work laws. They could not win, as Neil Feldman knows about Bowerism, right, Neil? They could not win any union security agreement. Maybe just a dues checkoff. That's probably the lowest level in the private sector of union security agreement. So the story about the Goldbricks was Gus was not active in his union. He'd sit at the break table and he'd say to the other guys, because the shop steward used to have to come around and collect the dues because there's no union security agreement in the contract. So it's a voluntary thing. So the stewards used to have to always come around. So Gus would always brag to the other workers, I'm getting paid the same thing as you guys. You guys are suckers. I don't pay dues. Why should I pay dues? I'm getting paid the same as you other guys. So later in his life, Gus came down with terminal disease. So the story goes to Gus is on his deathbed in the hospital, and Ethel comes up to him, talking to him, he goes, Ethel, call the union home. I need some pallbearers. And Ethel goes, why? You always talk bad about the union. You hated the union. You never paid dues. Why all of a sudden? Well, Ethel, I thought about this for a long time. I figured the union that's carried me all these years, it might as well carry me the rest of the way. But they published that story. Yeah. But if you look at the our senator actually was the author. Thank you, Senator. But it brings me now where me and Scalise was talking about how to get new members involved, And it takes me back to the UAW GM sit-down strike in 36 and 37. And it was 44 days they sat down and they controlled that plant. And there was a Governor Frank Murphy of Michigan, and everything fell into place for them. It made this a success. Murphy says it's an illegal seizure of private property, but I'm not going to bring the federal troops and National Guard to bust out of the plant. They're going to be like mediators. And it was another governor, they probably would have forced them out of the plant. But what we're getting at, it wasn't because Walter Reuther gave a great speech or John L. Lewis pounded on the table and said, this is what we want. It was the economic power of the workers that won that strike. And I think what Scalise and me might disagree with it on, but how to get new members involved, a lot of our members, I'm talking about new members now, a lot of the UAW members are facing things right now I never faced. 2-tier wage system, alternate work schedules. They lost their right, if you understand what the right to work law doesn't make union officials more accountable. It takes away the right to the workers what they can bargain for. That's what it does. But I think a lot of our new members don't understand power, economic power. And the concept, a lot of economists call it the concept of countervailing power. And I think it goes back to all our unions. If we want to make an improvement, and we're getting to the serious part here, is we got to improve our, whatever you want to call them, new member orientations. We got to improve on that because we got to tell our new members, say, just like the economic arena, And the political arena is not a spectator sport. You don't sit back and just things happen. You need to participate. And I think as we think about Mike Allen and his administration in the 90s, we actually had one of our new member orientation meetings. We had the professional actors that played Walter Luther and Martin Luther King, and it might have been in this room if I think back, but we had the resources to do it. We had the professional actors, play Luther and King, but I think the members that are out of our local, we got up to 4,000 members, and I think it paid dividends for us, Mike Allen, because those were our most active members. The workers hired in the 90s, and Scalise was one of them. And that's, of all the workers that were hired, and I think they were, since we organized in 57, I think that was our most active decade of members, because it was bred in to get involved from day one. And what came out of the strike, the GM sit-down strike? There's a couple of quotes from auto workers I want to share with you. And one auto worker said basically what that was, what they wanted with that strike was a recognition clause. That's about basically what they want. But one worker says to his other workers, all we got is our union, the rest is up to us. Another worker said, with auto workers quoted, before the union, they called me dumb pole wire. Now they call me brother. And one thing I learned from Anne Marie many decades ago, we take our union to wherever we go. Not just in the workplace, not to put a good show on the workplace. We take our union to the election, on election days. We take our union with us when we go to the diners. And we always think about our sisters and brothers when we take that vote, how we impact our sisters and brothers. And really, at the end of the day, when you think about it, we got to focus on power. At the end of the day, it comes down to how many members did we bring in and how much power did we build. That's it. That's where it is, brothers and sisters. But the most important part, the serious part about this is Bernie Joseph, and I met him in the 90s. I know who he is. Operating engineers president. I know Bernie. And Bernie was a guy that he was really into the labor movement. It was very important to him. And he was very devoted to the labor movement. So what I can do is not just take the award today, Bernie Joseph Award, and just bring it home and forget about it. To pay proper tribute to him is to live up to him every day. So I guess it's like the national debt. What I learned from Bernie Joseph and what my union has done for me, like the national debt, I'll never be able to pay it back. So I'm closing this as union members. We never give in, we never give up, never forget, and never walk away from our union. Thank you.